Owatonna High School football coach Jeff Williams here on the KRFO Coaches Show. 70-36, Owatonna defeating Austin on the road. Eerily similar to a couple of years ago, it feels like. When Owatonna and Austin play, the unexpected maybe should be expected.
Yeah, for sure. Those guys have always been relentless since Coach Vessel took over there 6 years ago. We had them beat badly in 2013, and they left their starters on the field as we put our 2s and 3s in there, and all of a sudden they came back on us, and we had to put our starters back out late. And 2 years ago, we were in a barn burner, a very similar game to last night, and Sam Hilly scored 7 touchdowns and rushed for 320 yards, which really is only possible when you're still in a football game, and we were. And last night we were in a football game until well into the third quarter, trading blows. So, it allows for those big types of stats to accumulate because you have to continue to keep your ones in there and continue to try to find ways to win a football game. So it was bizarre, but like you said, bizarre has kind of become the norm with our games with Austin.
7 touchdowns for Hilly 2 years ago. Jason Williamson had 7 touchdowns last night, a combination, I believe it was 5 rushing touchdowns, a receiving touchdown, a kickoff return. Oh, and he had 3 touchdowns called back by penalty.
Yeah, penalties were a bit of a bugaboo for us, and we took a couple holds, and it's just kind of one of those things where we're still a work in progress. We're still trying to get better, but Jason did a nice job. When he gets into your linebackers in your secondary, he's going to be awfully tough to track down. He's generally going to be the fastest kid on the field, plus he's 6'1", 190, and so he can put his shoulder down and get the extra tuck yards too. So he had a really nice night, but I thought we did some pretty good things up front as well. Got some young kids playing in the offensive line now. Joe Edel got his first start at tackle, kind of an undersized junior, but good feet and good aggressiveness and smart kid and learned very quickly. Played Zach Weiss at right guard. He's just a sophomore, so I would only expect that our lines are going to continue to improve as the season goes on and these kids gain experience, and we'll develop some depth, and hopefully we'll get healthy and we'll be able to compete with our opposition in the trenches as well.
Williamson also has the ability to make some pretty amazing cuts.
He does. He's the full package at running back. We're really lucky to have a kid like that, and he comes out of the backfield and catches the ball well. He's had 2 touchdown pass receptions now in the last 2 weeks, and anytime you can get the ball in his hands, there's a chance that he's going to go the distance. And so we have to continue to make sure that we monitor how many times we shove him the ball, because there is that wear and tear factor, and as you and I have discussed, we're trying to limit that a little bit more than we did last year. There were times when, we'd shove him the ball 40 times in a game, and we've just got to be careful to limit that, because we don't want to see him wear down. We want him fresh into November, and give him a chance to help us win games when big things are on the line.
And those other offensive linemen, Brody Veach and Dylan Meyer and Andy Jensen, to make sure all those guys get their due. They're opening up those holes and protecting Havelka.
And we had a couple of different schemes kind of dialed up, and those kids are pretty bright. And not that we didn't have a couple of mistakes, because I think the film is going to show that we did, but those kids are getting better. Meyer's done a nice job at center. You don't notice him, on the snaps and things like that, which is obviously a very positive thing. He's had some really big, heavy nose guards that he's got to go toe-to-toe with the last couple of weeks. The kid last night was about 300 pounds. He had a similar kind of a nose last week against Mayo, and he's just doing a nice job of getting the snap off and then securing the A gaps. And Veach has done a nice job at right tackle. Again, not that there aren't mistakes. There's always things to clean up, but when you snap the ball, whatever we did last night had to be close to 100 times. You're going to have those periodic mistakes, and when it happens in the line, you notice it. When a kid runs a wrong route, nobody notices. But if a kid, blocks the wrong direction or something on a play, obviously bad things happen. And so, they're just going to continue to get better. And it was good to have a competitive game last night, to leave those guys on the field a little bit longer, have to have them, work through some adversity, work through some fatigue. We haven't had to do much of that in the first couple of weeks, so that was a very positive thing as well.
What is the process here on the defensive side now? With 36 points were scored by Austin. They got some yards. How do you feel about the defense, and what happens on that side?
Well, we knew that Brink, their quarterback, was going to be pretty good, probably the best quarterback that we've seen to this point, and he threw a nice ball, had some pretty nice receivers, some bigger kids. Did we have some breakdowns in the secondary? A couple, but, there were a few where you just have to tip your hat. They did a nice job of spreading the ball around, and, they went after a couple of our corners, and our corners came up and made some big plays, and then, Austin to make a big play. So I didn't feel badly about how our secondary performed. It's just going to happen in this day and age where teams throw the ball 40 times a game. You're going to give up some receptions. That's just what it is. And the rules favor the offense in pass interference and who has access to the ball and that sort of thing. So it's just going to be the nature of the beast that periodically teams are going to get some completions on you. I think what was a little bit frustrating last night is, and just in talking with Coach Ockerkirk afterward, about some of the things that happened, we just had a couple of kids who went the wrong direction on a stunt or a blitz, weren't disciplined in some of their keying, and, there are just some things that we're going to have to get better at. And very frankly, I think, that will ultimately be a positive for us, because you can't help being a 17-year-old kid. You pitch a shutout, you give up one touchdown, you win by 40, and you start to think that you're something special. And last night was, I think, a good reminder of you're winning by 40 because you do things right. If you do things wrong, don't execute your responsibilities, don't read your keys, you're going to be in a dogfight. And that will be a good lesson for us moving forward, that we're not bulletproof, that our mistakes will hurt us, and they're going to be 6 points when they occur, and we need to get better. So, it's always easier to remind kids that they need to get better when they faced a little adversity the night before. If things go smoothly, they tend to kind of glaze their eyes over when you tell them that we still have room for improvement.
Now, the second half, I believe Austin scored just one touchdown, right?
Yeah, we always, if you look at our scores, over the last 10, 12 years, we generally come out in the second half with really good answers to what our opponent is doing. And, they got some big plays on us in the second quarter. We had some time at halftime for the defensive coaches to kind of hunker down with the kids and talk about, what do we need to do to get better? And I thought we did that. Our adjustments are always great. Our defensive staff is very intelligent, very wise. Coach Klaus and Coach Nasconi in the secondary have been there for over a decade. Coach Soley, he and I have been, coaching together since '91, I think, and Coach Ockerkirk has been the D coordinator since '98, and they just have a lot of answers. And if a team is finding some traction, they usually have a good response to that at halftime, and our kids usually come out and execute it. So that was very positive to see.
Rochester John Marshall next week. Early scouting report on the Rockets, who got shut out yesterday by Mankato West.
Yeah, they're trying to do some different things offensively, starting to shift over from more of a power running mode to more of an option mode. So that will be something unique for us. Not that we don't see some, spread read option. Even this week, preparing for Austin, there was a lot of, spread read option practice, but JM will option different defensive linemen and linebackers, and it will be a week of discipline. If you're the unblocked guy, who's your responsibility in the option? So it'll be kind of a unique week of practice for us, just because of some of the things that they do. Their quarterback is a pretty good runner. He's very, even in pass plays, very prone to just pulling it down and go. something he likes down the field, he'll pull it quick. And so you have to account for the quarterback as a runner, which, if you're a man-to-man defense, sometimes that can become problematic because they run the receivers, down the field, they pull your secondary out, and then the quarterback takes off. If he breaks through the linebacker level, there's nobody left home. So it will be an interesting week of practice, but, I think our kids are up for it. And, when you get into mid-season, sometimes it seems like you get into a little bit of a routine and a little bit of a rut, and to have something that spices, practice up, something new and different to work on and try to accomplish, it tends to add a little bit of freshness to practice, instead of just kind of same thing each week. Tuesday is Tuesday at practice, and here's what we do on Tuesday. Well, this will make things just a bit different, which I think is positive.
All right, a 70-36 win at Austin yesterday. Owatonna improves to 3-0, and the halfway point of the regular season comes next week at Rochester. John Marshall, Jeff Williams, Huskies head coach. Thank you for your time, Jeff, and good luck with that different week of practice.
Thank you, Roy.
Coach's Show on KRFO.